Hi everyone, in this video I will show you a few ideas on how to use pictograms to teach the receptive skills of English. Okay, first I would like you to take into account that I'm just sharing some possibilities. This is not I want you to do it exactly as I'm showing the examples. I'm just sharing some possibilities, some proposals, so this should not be taken as an imposition. Okay, perhaps the simplest way of using pictograms to teach receptive skills in English would be to illustrate vocabulary words. So probably you're used to working with traditional glossaries or lists of vocabulary words. They usually appear in alphabetical order, but for students who are learning a new language, it may be a bit difficult to deal with. It's just a lot of words that they are not familiar with, which may be intimidating for them. So if you try and look for pictograms that may represent the key vocabulary words of a lesson, of an activity, then it will be more beneficial for the students, because once more you're channeling the information in different ways, in a verbal and in a non-verbal way. We can also teach grammatical notions. For example, I'm illustrating 3 prepositions here with some basic pictograms, and the challenge here is to look for pictograms that may serve the purpose of illustrating the grammatical notions. We can also teach idioms, since idioms are highly metaphorical, so they lend themselves to be represented with pictograms. So I have 3 examples here, and I just tried to represent the most salient features of each of them, the most literal features of each of the idioms. So you could do a matching activity, a memory activity, or you could just insert the idioms as part of a handout, and if you want them to be used in an activity as the target lexical content of a lesson. We can also contrast the meanings of similar words. For example, here we have 2 easily confused words, or actually verbs. They actually confused even by native speakers. We have borrow and lend. So we can represent the direction in which the actions occur. For example, you borrow from others and others lend to you. So it's essentially the same meaning, but the way in which the verbs work is different. So that's a possible way for you to show your students the difference and contrast the meaning of the words. You could allow your students to identify intonation patterns. For example, each dot represents a syllable, and I'm using this that looks like a sun to indicate the stressed syllable. I'm also placing that in a higher position. And then you can practice, or you can have students classify words according to their pronunciation or intonation pattern. And of course, this can also be used in a production exercise. If students need a visual reminder of how a certain word or certain words should be stressed, so this could be a way to do it. Also, as part of warm-up activity, perhaps a pre-listening, pre-reading activity, you can have students identify the odd one out from a set of pictograms. For example, if you have to work with recording or reading that has to do with camping, I say, okay, students, identify the odd one out in this set of pictures, because students should also be able to identify what is and what is not part of the content that they are about to study. Also, you could represent a story that is part of a reading or a part of a conversation by using pictograms. So it could be as a warm-up activity, or like inferencing. So you could represent the main events in a story with pictograms, and students say, identify, okay, I feel that this story is about this and that, and that will allow students to be better prepared to deal with the reading or the listening material. You could also teach verb forms. In this case, I'm combining both verbal and non-verbal elements. I especially want students to pay attention to the inflection of the third person singular in the simple present. And of course, this can also be used in a production exercise. Also, as a post-reading, post-listening task activity, students could rearrange a story. So again, you take pictograms that represent the main events from the story, but they are you make sure they are not in a chronological order, and have students arrange them according to the way that they took place in the story. That's another way to assess students' comprehension after dealing with reading or some listening material. And here are the references I used for this example. So I hope these ideas help you come up with your own and help you design your own materials with the use of pictograms.